This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is brought to you by Albi. Are you tired of switching from app to app to accomplish simple tasks for your restoration business? With Albi's all-in-one software, you can stay ahead of the game by unlocking a comprehensive platform that sets you up for success, helping you keep track of current and future jobs and becoming a unified front with your field and in-office teams. It's time to join the future, ditch the multiple apps, and go for a streamlined software catered to your unique business needs. Book a demo today at albiware.com. This holiday season, Albi is doing a special promotional gift for your first month free. Upon activation, receive a $1,000 gift card. Again, that's albiware.com. This episode is also brought to you by SteraMist. Whether it's a residential or commercial space, SteraMist is your go-to solution for a mold-free, toxin-free environment. Don't let mold and mycotoxins compromise your health. Take control with SteraMist's IHP disinfection technology. Visit steramist.com today to learn more and integrate SteraMist into your remediation protocols. That's steramist.com, innovating for a safer world. Hey, Restorers, thanks for checking out this episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today, I am very excited to be joined by a fellow female entrepreneur and co-founder of her own business. And she also is a marketing guru, which is also exciting to me. So it's a double whammy for me here. And I'm hoping that this will be a great episode for you all as well. I know marketing is always a big topic. And in restoration, it can be hard to differentiate between the sales and marketing and what you need to do and keep up on trends and all of that. So I am joined by Helena Kelly. She is with Sagely & Co. She's one of the co-founders of the company. And she's also a fractional CMO, which means a fractional chief marketing officer for people who haven't heard that terminology before. So the idea behind a role like that is if you don't have the bandwidth or the ability to have a full-time marketing officer or director of marketing, whatever that may be in your company, there are people who are fractional CMOs out there who can help you with your marketing without that being an in-house position. So that's where Helena and her company come in. So I'm going to stop talking and toss it over to Helena to have her introduce herself and share some of her background because she is familiar with the industry. And then we're going to kind of go from there.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you having me on this morning, and you definitely hit all the high spots. So I am a career marketer, started off right out of college on the agency side and have worked with every shape and size of company in between, from early stage startups to Fortune 1000 companies to academia, and then also had a stint abroad in Stockholm with the European CDC. So I have worked with all different types of companies, and after 20 years plus years in the space as a marketer, I've always had the entrepreneurial bug, watch my parents build, sell, own multiple businesses. And so I just reached a point in my career where I thought, I don't want to be beholden to just one company anymore. I want to share my knowledge, and, I can help multiple companies at once just grow their marketing teams and grow ROI and have a broader reach. So here we are.
So how long has Sagely & Co. been around?
So my co-founder and I have actually been working together for over 10 years, primarily at CoreLogic is the longest stint we had together. And then I went off on my own in 2020 as a marketing consultant. And then earlier this year, we decided to join forces, and, we say it was serendipitous. I had been consulting for about 3 years. She had been at a few startups and really just had that entrepreneurial bug as well. She just was ready to be more in control of her career and destiny and wanted to do something different. And, she kept asking, do you love it? I kind of want to do it. I'm scared. I don't know what I should do. And I just said, come on over. I was at a point in my consultancy where I needed to scale and needed to bring on some additional muscle to take on more work. And so the timing was just right. And it was just really, convincing her that once you get here, it's going to be a whole new world. And the opportunities are just boundless.
When you started consulting, for one, it sounds like you started during the pandemic. So that had to have been a journey in and of itself. And two, how did you choose who your market was? Were you willing to consult for just anybody who needed marketing help? Or was there like a niche where you were the most comfortable?
Great question. So I started in the thick of the pandemic. It was October 2020. I mean, I remember very distinctly that I had this feeling of, okay, I've been here 8 years and I'm ready for a change, and just started networking and having those conversations. And literally my last week at my company, there was an overlap between, I remember like my mom was having surgery, I was exiting this company, and I already had people asking and saying like, I know you want to take a little break and then you're going to start consulting, but can you just do this little tiny project? And so like, I literally never got that break. And all of these things collided at once. And to your point about, how did I decide on my niche? I mean, initially starting out, it was all just word of mouth, people coming to me, knowing that I was going to make this career leap. Some of them had gone over to other smaller companies, and they needed help. They knew my work ethic, they knew my expertise, and I mean, the timing was just right. So we definitely focus on tech businesses, so insure tech, prop tech, re-tech, and really kind of that entire real estate ecosystem and real estate economy, because there's just so many, there's silos in one sense, but there's a lot of overlap. Like look at your industry, for example. So, okay, before, damage can happen to a house has to be built, it has to be funded through a mortgage, it has to be insured. So, there's this entire timeline of connectedness that happens, but there's a lot of overlap, and there's, it makes you a stronger, more well-rounded person if you understand all of the parts of that journey and all of that ecosystem. And so, yeah, it's just naturally, even though, most of our expertise is kind of in the re-tech space, was just really have spread out. I also went through the licensing to become a realtor again, because I just wanted to have a broader knowledge and a deeper reach and just be, more well-rounded for my clients. And so that's opened up, a whole new world and opportunities as well. So I think it just goes back to like, we should always be learning. Like we'll never reach that ceiling and always be learning. And so whether it's just challenging yourself to learn a new industry or a new skill or a new trade, like that's how you have to stay on top of your game. And then that's how opportunities become available too.
Okay. I know I explained a little bit in the intro what a fractional CMO is, but I would love to hear you explain it and how you explain it to your clients who are maybe not familiar with the term or what that means if they're hiring a CMO.
Yeah, absolutely. So fractional in essence means, part-time, not full-time. It's, kind of a smaller scope. It doesn't mean that it is going to be less work or, that you're not doing as much, but usually people that are able to elevate themselves into fractional roles, it's because they have a tremendous amount of experience. And so they're able to come into a company and hit the ground running, right? Their ramp up time is really fast. Usually they know the industry, they don't have to be educated on that. And so typically a fractional CMO does about 20 hours a week of work. And so not only is it filling the marketing gaps, like you mentioned, filling marketing gaps, maybe bridging time where they're trying to hire an executive and they still need work done, right? They still have deadlines to meet. They still have products to launch. They still have fundraising to do. And so they still need that marketing muscle. They still need that marketing reach, but they haven't put the right talent in the right place. And so they bring a fractional CMO. Another kind of unique attribute is that most fractional CMOs, they handle strategy and tactics. So that include things like building out your annual marketing plan, making sure you're developing marketing objectives that ladder up to the broader business objectives, creating, content calendars and PR strategies, and really that entire kind of marketing ecosystem to say, okay, these are the areas where we need to grow. This is what the marketing mix should look like. These are the social platforms that we should be on. These are the conferences we should be attending. And so it's building that overarching strategy and then being able to quickly flip that, roll up your sleeves and get in and do the tactical work as well. It's not like we just build the strategy and pass the baton, that we can come in and handle the tactics and the execution. usually alongside your team, because even if you're a startup, you traditionally maybe have one or two marketers in seat, but they're junior level, they're looking for a mentor, they're just cranking out all the work, and then we can be working alongside them to help them elevate their careers as well.
Nice. Okay. What would you say is the number one struggle that you see B2B companies have when it comes to marketing right now, kind of in a post-pandemic world? And I don't know, all the markets are interesting. I don't even know how to define the economy right
Yeah.
now. So what would you say is the number one struggle?
Two big things. I always think that marketing is an afterthought in businesses, that they bring us in super late when, oh, we need to launch a product in 2 weeks, or yeah, this product team has been working on this, new idea or concept for 12 months, and they never thought to have marketing alongside to help inform and say, okay, well, this is the research we've done. This is what customers are saying. We've been talking to them. This is what our ad engagement or our social media followers have been saying. So I think it's just a lifelong education for marketing to say, hey, we can bring value to the business a lot earlier on than you think. Give us a seat at the executive table, and that we can be a lot more efficient when we're involved earlier in the process. That's the first one. Just having us in earlier. And then kind of dovetailing into that is really focusing on your value prop and your unique positioning. So often businesses, when they get to the marketing part, they want to jump right into tactics and execution and the shiny stuff and the sexy stuff and the fun stuff. And that's all fine and well, but if you don't understand the value that you bring, how you're differentiated from your customers, how you're unique, and who cares about you the most, like you can't boil the ocean. You really have to understand, okay, these could be our potential customers, but out of that audience, these are the ones that have the highest propensity to buy, that have the highest propensity to be with us and not churn, that we can successfully cross-sell and upsell to. And it's just getting really niche and specific. And so regardless of the stage or the size of the company, so often they're like, oh yeah, we already have our value prop, like we already have our messaging, it's solid. And we're like, okay, did you validate it? Did you test it? When is the last time you gave it a refresh? And so instead of taking it off the shelf, we really try to introduce that rigor and say, even if you have it, great, like let us take a look, get an outside perspective, get a fresh set of eyes. If nothing else, we're just validating and confirming what you already have, and then we can run off and start the work. But just bringing that discipline and having them take the time, because it doesn't matter how many campaigns you churn out, or how many social media platforms you're on. If your messaging isn't solid and isn't consistent and isn't unique, it doesn't matter. Like no marketing volume is going to get you that awareness that you need.
Yes, that is absolutely true. What do you tell the people who say, I don't know if I want to invest any in marketing because because I don't know how to measure the ROI on it, or how to see how it's exactly translating into revenue on the bottom line?
Yep, exactly. And I think the past 10 years, there's been a tremendous evolution in marketing, because what I was just talking about earlier is like, okay, yeah, you created all this collateral and built this new website and made all these flashy tchotchkes for our ITC conference, but where's the money behind that? Where are the results behind that? And so now marketing is being accountable. They have to demonstrate the ROI. They have to say, okay, I went to this trade show and spent $10,000 on a booth, but it brought me this quantity of leads, and here's the potential revenue for each one. And it's having your salespeople document it in a CRM and not hoarding the business cards from the fishbowl, and being transparent. So everyone has to be accountable, but again, it takes an army to do that, right? You have to have the proper marketing technology stack. You have to have a CRM. You have to have a BI tool. You have to have automation set up in place, and you have to have accountability to say, okay, these are our goals. Like we're checking in. Sales, are you giving me what you need? Like I gave you this awesome booth. Now, are you coming back and logging those leads? Finance. Okay, let me know, how am I doing on, all of my marketing channels? Like, am I overspending here? Am I underspending here? I think it's also keeping a pulse and like optimizing, right? Specifically with you look at paid social media and Google ads. Like, are you checking in every day and seeing like what keywords are performing, what ads aren't, turning those off, optimizing the ones that are working, and really just having data drive your decisions and not having a hunch drive your decisions, or because that's the way that we've always done it, is like taking the data and saying, no, this is why we're going to pivot. This is why we're going to do this and not do that, because you can't argue with the data. It tells you exactly what to do.
How do you stay up on the trends when it comes to marketing? I mean, Google is always changing, Facebook's changing, algorithms are always changing, what the marketplace is wanting is always changing, especially depending on the economy, which is probably even pretty regionalized based on the segment that you're in. So how do you stay up on marketing trends and know how to best leverage the different platforms?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, it's information overload. There's new technology coming out every day and software is coming out. I think in your industry, I read there was, 60 different software platforms out there, and like there's a lot of consolidation and merging that's going to be happening. So you have to read up and like see what's coming out, right? Like look at what's happening in the news. You need to be at industry events and trade shows to see, kind of just hear the buzz in the market. Like, what are you using? What are you testing out? Asking, just checking with colleagues and, people in the industry if they have a recommendation. But you're right, you always have to keep a pulse on what's going on. I read a statistic earlier in the year that just, like for marketing technology, for MarTech stack, I think there's over like 8,000 different platforms out there, right? And it's not just like your BI tools, it's like your Slack and your Chat GPT, and there's different versions of using now, and email marketing and social media management. It's so overwhelming, but I think you just have to kind of test and figure out what works for you. And obviously budget's going to come into play. It's the learning curve, right? If there's a platform or software that you've already been using and it works well, like doesn't mean necessarily jump on the trend just because that's everyone else is doing, but if it's integrated into your system and it's working. So yeah, but you have to carve out that time to kind of do that hunting and that research, just if nothing else, just to validate, okay, like what you're using is still working, or do you need to make any shifts?
Okay. I want to switch gears now to talk about the female entrepreneur side of things. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but I know for me, when I started my company, I had gone through kind of a tipping point in my kind of corporate America career path. So what was your tipping point? I mean, you said you have a background with parents in business and things like
Yes.
that, but did you have a tipping point in kind of your career where you're like, I'm ready? Like, what was
I
that?
did. Yeah. Okay. So it was definitely COVID.
Yep.
We were working at home, as most of the world was, and were asked to come back into the office right after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And that ask eventually turned into a line in the sand where it was basically everyone has to be back in the office this day. If you can't be back in the office this day, you either have to quit or take a leave of absence. And I had two young children at home, a kindergartner and a 3-year-old. The kindergartner school was closed. The preschoolers school was closed, and then my husband is a first responder, so he was going into work every day. He is a medical evacuation pilot for Starflight, so he just COVID tested every day and went in. And so I'm at home like trying to be a teacher, trying to be a mom, trying to run my corporate job, and I mean it was just like I can't do this. And I mean I can't wear all of these hats indefinitely. And even though my manager was super flexible and said, just do what you need to do, like be under the radar, I just didn't sit well with that. Like that's just not the kind of person. And I just was like, okay, like I need to be a mom and a teacher right now. And I felt like I needed a break. Like I told you, like I was planning to take 3 months off, and then I knew I was going to consult, at the start of the year, but people just were like, well, can you just start? Like, I just have this one project. I just need a little bit of help. Yeah, I'll be conscious of your time. And like, here we are, 3+ years later, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I love the work-life balance. I love just being able to be in control of what projects I want to work on, what clients I want to collaborate with, how I schedule my day, not feeling like, oh, I have to work till 11 o'clock every night because there's this deadline that I learned about 48 hours ago, and just being okay with not necessarily saying no, but saying, sure, I can do that, but I'll get to that. I'll get you that tomorrow, or where you have control of planning your day and mapping your day. And it's just so enlightening and exhilarating. So,
I fully agree. I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I was
okay.
right there with you in all of that, and I totally agree. Our stories are very similar. So I think as women, we tend to, which you touched on this a little bit a minute ago, we tend to struggle with saying no. But there's also some projects that just aren't the right project or not the right fit for our companies or whatever that may be. So how have you learned to say no to things that maybe aren't for you or whatever that may be through
Mhm.
the last few years?
Yeah, great question. And definitely have had to do that.
Mhm.
But instead of making it just a hard no, that's it, leave you hanging high and dry, I always try to bridge them to someone else or something else to say, like, I'm not the best fit for you at this time, whether it's just our plate is full, or we can't handle the work, or we just know somebody that would be a much better fit based on their experience or their background. I always try to connect them and bridge them to an opportunity or another company or a place or a person that would be able to benefit them. And, it's just a two-way street, because you're opening up your network to that person, you're inviting opportunities, you're inviting a symbiotic relationship. They're going to keep you in mind when, maybe something happens that they do need you, and they'll come to you again, or they just know you're a great resource and say, oh yeah, Helena, put me in touch with
Mhm.
these people. I wonder if she knows anything about XYZ. So yeah, you don't feel bad just completely declining them, but you bridge them to another opportunity or someone else that can help.
What advice would you give another woman who maybe has these entrepreneurial aspirations and they want to take the leap, but they're afraid to take the leap?
Totally. Sure. And there's so many reasons, right? Professional and personal
Mm,
and financial. But I would recommend to someone who's thinking about consulting or becoming an entrepreneur, and they're not ready to just, cut the cord or cut ties with their current situation, is just start with a side hustle, right? Like,
yeah.
build
Yep.
a website, or just let friends and family know, or put some jobs up on Fiverr or Upwork just to kind of test the waters and see what type of traction you can get, and see if it's something that you even enjoy, right? Because it's no longer having somebody telling you, okay, this is what you have to do
Mm,
today. Like, you are setting your own destiny. You're not only working in your business, right, fulfilling work for clients, but you're also working on your business. Like, where are you
mm.
getting your customers? What type of network are you doing? Do you have a good attorney that's writing contracts for you? Or, are you savvy on the accounting side, knowing that you have to pay quarterly taxes or set up an LLC? Like, there's this whole area of business and running a business that you either have to start doing and figure out, or bring in help or automate. It's a lot to navigate, but like, you have to straddle both of those worlds. So
Yep.
it's not just having the idea. It's like, okay, do you have the grit and discipline and understand like the full scope of what you're about to do? So,
Yes, that is so true. That other side of it with, yeah, the taxes and the accounting and all of that. I don't know how you are, but for me as a marketer, you really don't want me like taking care of the books. So I have somebody who obviously does that for me and for CNR. And I look at them and I know what I'm looking at now, but you wouldn't want me
likewise, yeah.
doing.
And I think also too, there's a whole portion of that where you think, okay, well, I know how to do it, so I'm just going to do it myself because I just know the process. And you don't want to relinquish that control or delegate because you've just been doing so long. But it's so freeing when you do
Yes.
finally just let go, and you can say, you know what, like, this isn't my expertise. I don't like to do it. I'm not good at it. So I'm going to pay somebody to do it. And it frees up time for you to do the things that you do love and focus on areas that you want to grow and expand. So there's always that trade-off.
Yes, I totally agree.
Mhm.
Okay, any other wisdom you want to impart on fellow women, contractors, people who
Yeah,
need marketing help?
I think just, be authentic and true to who you are. And if you have those passions and those dreams and kind of those feelings that are cropping up, like explore them and don't wait too long, because especially if it's a dream that you've had for a long time, or, since you were a child, it's always going to be cropping up. And so you're going to have to address it at some point, and you don't want to address it when it's too late. At least you can address it now and say, you know what, I tried that. It wasn't what I thought. It wasn't what I had expected. But me now being on the other side, I'm like, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago. I wish I would have done this sooner. And it's just, kind of taking those small steps and not having to feel like you have to do everything all at once. But like, if you have that passion and that fire, just go figure it out and go explore. So don't wait.
Go figure it out. I totally agree. Well, Helena, thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for all your wisdom and expertise. Congrats on you and on your journey. I love meeting other female entrepreneurs and hearing what they're up to. So that's awesome. Congrats on your success.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me this morning and for inviting me to be a part of your dialogue. I appreciate it.
Of course.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com. and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.